killed at the hands of police. Viewer discretion is advised.
I suggest you back the fuck up. No.
This is Baltimore Bernardez Ruiz. In a newly released video shot in 2016, Ruiz is seen with his knee on the back of an unknown man, with a gun pointed at the man's head. His message was a clear one. Concerned onlookers, adhere to my dictates or else. Here, we can hear Ruiz saying to Baltimore residents,
I suggest you back the fuck up. No.
It is documented that Baltimore police officer Jorge Bernardez Ruiz is a repeat violent offender, even without access to all complaints against her undisclosed by BPD Internal Affairs records. 6 cases involving Ruiz are known. This video will briefly highlight 6 total cases beginning in July of 2013. Case 1, Abdul Salam, July 1st, 2013. Here Salam is seen victoriously smiling in celebration after the jury found Ruiz and 2 other cops liable for brutality against him. However, because the trial was civil, not criminal, Ruiz was not fired and he did not go to jail.
Police profiled me. They followed me in the back of my house, harassing me. Police proceeded to violently and hostilely approach my van with me and my son in it. As I announced, this was my home, guns drawn. Once they reached my vehicle, they violently pulled me out, ramshacked my vehicle with my 3-year-old son strapped in his car seat, threw me against the gate, slammed me repeatedly, hit me up by my feet, and while I'm upside down, they proceeded to drop me on my head, hog-tie me, and immediately when I fell on my head, Ruiz, in a wrestling type of action, and kind of hit his knee against my neck. I was arrested. I had no idea what I was being arrested for. My son is scarred to this day. He remembers the incident as it happened yesterday. When he talks about it, he always told the police yesterday.
Case 2, Darrell Harris, profiled, as seen in this video, July 17th, 2013.
Yeah, see, what's wrong with it? There's no such thing as improper way. I know the law. I know the law. I know the law. What's the problem? You giving me a ticket? You need my license registration? To profile, I use the seatbelt as a reason. Profile.
To be fair, take out your keys.
Hey, you give a call for what? Nah. I don't feel safe right now. Do you want me to step out the car? Do you want me to step out the car? I'll step out the car. Call the police, man. Please call the supervisor. I want to do shit. This is getting uploaded to the internet right now.
Yeah. And we are 2 law-abiding citizens that we are getting targeted, and I don't know why.
Just 24 hours later, Bernardez Ruiz played a leading role in the police killing of unarmed Tyrone West. Case number 3, the murder of Tyrone West, July 18th, 2013.
My brother Tyrone West was brutally murdered on July 18th, 2013.
In both of these cases, when you look at the pleadings and the harsh language of these officers that have been quoted to me by reliable witnesses, the N-word.
And Killer Ruiz and Killer Chapman and the rest of those 11 or 15 killers, including David Lewis, took something from my family that they can never give us again. And that was my brother Tyrone West, one unarmed man who was brutally murdered, beat to death in broad daylight.
Mic check, mic check. This is West Wednesday, number 385. We are calling for justice for Tyrone West and for all victims of police violence. Mic check, mic check. I'm turning it over to Tawanda.
Mic check. Thank you
for joining in the West Wednesday. And as you saw the video, we've been fighting now for all these weeks for accountability, not just for my big brother Tyrone West, but for all the victims of police brutality and just everything. And literally tonight, we're gonna have a special, and I'm honored to bring our special guests on. We're gonna have a special West Wednesday because in order to fight this fight, you have to make sure you're taking care of yourself. And these are the hardest times. You're thinking about right now. We're having like a little snowstorm that's going on, and that's why we were a little bit late because I got home a little bit late. So I just want to apologize in advance for coming not on exactly 6:30, but nevertheless, just taking care of ourselves in this pandemic. And I'm honored tonight to have our queen. Oh my God, this sister wears many crowns. Like she's a mother activist. She's everything wrapped up into one. So I just want to bring on our sister, Dr. K, and she had a very interesting show. She's a radio host. She's everything. Now she's just awesome. She's my Cheryl for real, but nevertheless, she had an awesome show where she had a doctor with it. And I'm not going to tell you who the doctor was that she had on it, but it was interesting. It was talking about this pandemic. So I'm going to bring our sister, Dr. K, on. Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Yeah.
Mic check.
Mic check. I'm delighted to be here. I have such high respect for what happens with West Wednesdays. It is just an honor and a joy to be asked to come on and share and talk a little bit about what I think is the other part of Black Lives Matter, that it's also about saving Black lives. I had the opportunity to interview Dr. Fauci on my show, and we followed up with been interviewing top leading epidemiologists, infectious disease specialists, as well as a pediatric infectious disease specialist, because Black people and brown people, and that includes the Hispanic community and the indigenous community, are being disproportionately impacted by COVID-19. Black people are 4 times more likely to be hospitalized, 2 times more likely to die, and having them on my show trying to answer some of the questions so that my community can get the information that we need. There is a vaccine that is rolling out, and if you've seen the pictures, every picture I've seen from New York to Baltimore has been a Black woman in the chair first. I think that there's a message that is being marked here, that Black women are stepping up to put their bodies on the line to once again hold up this country, once again save people. Yet we're the ones dying from it because so many of the comorbidities and the underlying health conditions are amplified in our community because of white supremacy, because of redlining, because of poverty, because of the ways in which they have disinvested in our community. And so when I think about what that means, and I look at Baltimore City as a microcosm for America, if you look around the city, in the conditions that so many of my people live in are the conditions that COVID-19 tends to thrive, rule, and abide and reign. And so in trying to get the information out, trying to think about ways that we can make sure that our lives continue without having to say you must take the vaccine, that's a very controversial decision, a very hard conversation to have, because we know that in this country we have a history in the medical field of using Black bodies in inhumane ways, not just from the ways in which they experimented on enslaved Black women who could not consent and operating on them without using anesthesia in order to develop anesthesia for white women, not just because of this Tuskegee experiment and the ways in which they experimented on Black men by intentionally giving them syphilis that then got transferred to their wives and their children, not just because of Henrietta Lacks and the way they stole her cells and intentionally kept that information from her family while they were living in impoverished conditions. They were making billions upon billions of dollars down at Hopkins. That's why I'm not surprised that they had slave owning in that past, because of the ways in which they abuse the body and this, because of all of those things and the ways in which today, prior to COVID-19 happening, Black women were dying at a higher rate during childbirth than we did in the latter half of slavery. And research shows that Black people are not believed when we talk about the pain in our body. We're less likely to have health insurance. We're less likely to get any kind of medication we need to take care of ourselves. Because of all of that, I can understand why the Black community is not complete vaccine that's been developed in such a short period of time. And so it's not just for my community. I want to say it's for myself as well. I am someone where I'm kind of sandwiched between my father's generation, and he is being completely impacted by COVID-19. He's in South Carolina. In the space of 48 hours, he lost 3 classmates and a cousin to COVID-19. He has found that out of all of his high school classmates who were together a year ago this time, laughing about the fact that so many of them had lived and survived to this moment, that every single male that from his high school class, all of them have died except 2. And one, of course, is my father. So he is in line. He wants to take the vaccine because he's afraid that he's going to die before he has a chance to see his grandchildren, to see his children. So he will take it. My son, on the other hand, he's 20 years old. In his mind, he's going to live forever. He's going to take the vaccine. I'm sandwiched between them. And I have a lot of questions about the long-term impact of this vaccine. I have questions about the number of studies. It has not been as high as our white colleagues. And so there's not that much data. What was the most shocking thing, and I said this on the air, the most shocking thing for me to hear is that Dr. Fauci, who I argue that I was a Fauci fangirl, not so much now. Now I'm a little bit confused and concerned about some of the things he said on my show, because on my show I specifically asked him about the efficacy of this vaccine as it pertained to our children. I don't have any children under the age of 18, but I love Black and brown children, so I want to make sure our children are going to be safe. Dr. Fauci said on my show that it will be fine for our children to take the vaccine. Since then, I've had leading epidemiologists on my show from Hopkins, from the University of Maryland Medical Center, and I had a pediatric infectious disease specialist, and every single one of them have clearly said that there is no documentation for any trial study that's been done on children with COVID-19. In fact, the only way they're going to get the data is that if people step up and volunteer their children for this study. That is the complete opposite of what he said on my show, which also calls into question everything else that you say, right? So if you can twist one piece of information, they're confused about all of it because they've done no trial studies. So why should I try to talk my community into getting their children vaccinated? And there's no data, there's no study. They have not done any trial studies for children under the age of 13, and very little has been done between the ages of 13 and 17. So with all that in mind, it is more information that is needed. It's trying to find ways to stay safe and stay alive and stay healthy, but knowing that every time we are moving with these numbers, they are not giving us the true documentation of what is happening in our community. We're being told that we're being disproportionately impacted, but in terms of putting names and races to the numbers, if you look at the work that Ibram Kendi has done at The Atlantic, trying to document what's happening with Black and brown bodies in COVID-19, there's so much information that's lacking. Dr. Kendi came on my show in April of this year, and he said, which stays with me and haunts me, he said, by the time we get to the end of COVID-19, the impact on our community is going to be on the same level as the way slavery impacted our community. We're going to lose whole generations coming out of COVID-19, and that is what we're seeing. If out of the 150 children that have died of COVID-19 in this country, over half of them have been Black children, I think that that is a cause for concern. And it's something that keeps me up at night, desperate to get more information about the vaccine, desperate to try to find solutions for what I can do to lean in for my community. So I'll stop there and then open it up for questions if there are any. But I invite you to go and listen, to go onto my Facebook page. Every interview, we did something different starting with Fauci. We started videotaping all the interviews, and all of them are available. Today, with the snowstorm, we actually played a special called Saving Black Lives, where we pulled all those interviews together. What do we need to know in order to line up and take a vaccine. And I say that, by the way, knowing after I checked the New York Times database, I'm 287 million in line. So I have a little bit of time to go before I get the vaccine. I'll be the last one in my family, according to the data studies, to take it. The way it breaks down now, the first one in my family to take it will be my 18-year-old, then my husband who's a teacher, then my 20-year-old, and then finally, 287 million people later, I'm in line. Because I sit right there in that age group that they're not prioritizing. I don't have any underlying conditions. I don't have any comorbidities. And so I'm near the end of the line. So I have to work hard to stay healthy, because if I am going to take the vaccine, I'm nowhere close to getting my name called to be a part of any kind of study at this point. So if you have questions, I'm more than happy to take them. Thank you so much.
Yeah, first of all, I want to thank you, Queen, because I've been watching you and I'm just so intrigued. Like, as we stepped into this pandemic, you've been like literally giving us big. Like, I would actually stalk your page. Like, when I would miss the news, I'm like, oh, I'm going to go on Dr. K page to get all the information that I need to know about the non-specific so that way I would come and sometimes share it on, you know, West Wednesday and things like that, or just for my own self. But I just want to talk, it's not really a question, but I just want to personally, for me, about this vaccine, like, I just don't trust none of them. I'm not telling nobody not what to do and what not to do, but for me, I had took the, you know, for the flu shot, I took that or whatever, and they had made it mandatory at my job. And so, like, the first year they gave me the flu shot, the biggest thing I was just scared of, like, I'm hoping that they ain't doing no foolishness. And, like, you know, they would give you, like, the dead flu or whatever, and I would feel a little sick or whatever, but I was more so scared of the needle, and scared that it was going to give me something. But anyway, the second time they gave it to me, I'm like, okay, you know, all right. And, you know, I felt, like, a little bit sick, but then the third time they gave it to me, this was around when the swine flu came out. What they did was they snuck and put some of the swine flu in it, and instantly, when I'm trusting them, and I'm, you know, immediately when I took this, you know, the shot or whatever, the vaccine, immediately, I'm not lying, people thought I was being a drama queen at work. I instantly felt like I was going down, like I instantly got sick, like on the spot, like I was burning up. I had to go vomit, I had to run, it was horrible, and I promised myself after that, you couldn't pay me to take another vaccine of any kind. And then once they found out, everybody thought, and they was like, they knew I was sick. You can't fake a sickness, because literally I was in the bathroom. I even think I vomited, like right there, almost vomited on the nurse that gave it to me. It was so bad, but nevertheless, and they was like, we're gonna find out what made you so sick. And then they told me, oh, well, they put a little bit part of the swine flu, and I'm like, you gotta be kidding, without my consent. So that's my biggest concern, because they try to experiment on us all the time, and I'm not the only one. You know, in our race that feels like they want to make a big experiment. They love experimenting with us. So I'm just not thrilled about it. Like, it's just sad, but I'm not thrilled. I feel like it's going to take at least 3 to 4 years for them to actually find out what is what, and they're trying to brush something to me that takes years, just all up into one. So I'm just not thrilled. I'm just not there. I just want to share that. So mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check. Mic check. I just wanted to respond to that, because I think that you're raising some very important points. We know that the swine flu, the vaccine for that was a failed program. They were only able to vaccinate 25% of the population, and the reason is because the swine flu vaccine itself caused paralysis, respiratory arrest. Like, that was a vaccine around H1N1 that was rushed. I mean, the research shows it takes 4 to 16 years to develop a vaccine, going through all the trial studies. And every one of the doctors have tried to convince me on that point. Well, if you have everybody working, all the, the smartest people in the world working on one thing, and that is what we've had. Everybody's been working to get this. Concerns, I still have a little bit of weariness around it, work, particularly because I know Dr. Freeman Rabowski from UMBC, him and his wife Jackie are in the trial study. But they're going to be watched for the next 2 years. So while they still have people in the trial study, they're already rolling it out. A couple things that I'm also concerned about trying to monetize the vaccine. So giving people $1,000 check if they come and get vaccinated, which doesn't sound like a lot for many of us. About $1,000, not that much money, but for the economically challenged population, and which a great majority of that is Black and brown people, $1,000 for a vaccine seems like an easy trade-off. The trial study is giving people $1,600. I mean, they're monetizing this, knowing that people are struggling. We were already struggling before COVID-19, right? We already understand that the average white family makes around $17,000. The average Black family is at $7,100. It's a 10 times difference. We already know. I'm sorry, not $17,000. $171,000. So with that in mind, if you're going to put money around the vaccine, who's going to line up to take it? It's people that are economically challenged who are saying, okay, I need the money for my family. Let me take this vaccine and let me get a check and walk out the door. I think those are the parts of the study that to me just sound a little bit strange, just almost inhumane to attach money to a vaccine, because then you put people in a financial situation where they can't make clear choices because they do need the money.
I'm sorry, experiment, right? That we're gonna work on it, right? And the thing is designed to get the man out of the home. Like, it's supposed to be a family investment, invest in family, but yet, if you get social service, you live on Section 8, you're in the project, you get what I'm saying? Totally experiment. And then they had all this lead paint poisoning, all this stuff to poison us. It's just horrible. And one more thing I want to share, and I'll open it up because I don't want to hog up everything. But anyway, my dad, like literally after my brother was murdered, my dad took me from birth, literally basically died from getting the flu shot. They said he had complications of the flu shot. I'm like, you gotta be kidding. And because he was a diabetic, they always said, well, you don't want to get sick, so just take this. And he was taking, I don't know what they put in it. That year went in 2013, and literally he died literally months after my brother was murdered. So it's no way in hell I'm taking it. So mic check.
Mic check. I want to say something towards that too. It's my son that's on here tonight. He's 30 years old, and the last time I got a flu shot, which was the first time ever, I think my son was about 4. You couldn't melt me and pour me on none of these vaccinations. I don't want none of that crap. They don't have enough money to give to me, and I am definitely one of the ones who are struggling as far as financially to basically keep my head above water. But at the stake of my life, no, it's not worth that. I would never. And what I know now, as far as vaccinating my kids, my children would have never gotten vaccinated for anything. And I mean that, because what they do is the vaccinations and stuff is nothing but making our immune systems, they're not real anymore, because you're filling us up with all of these diseases and stuff in order for our bodies to build up an immunity to fight them off, when our bodies were already meant to do that from the beginning. And then a lot of these diseases that they have come up with are man-made. They told me, I think it was like last year when I went to the doctors, and me and my husband, we really got into a heated discussion about it, because they was like, okay, it's time for you to get your tetanus shot, but you need to get a whooping cough shot too. I said, let me tell you something. All the years I've been on this earth, I ain't never heard of a whooping or a cough. So y'all can keep that. I don't want nothing to do with it. Not me. So he's like, well, they said that you need to get this, that. And I said, well, then you trade places and you let them stab you up with that mess. Because I'm not doing it. I'm not a really, I respect some doctors, but I don't like them at all. And if I'm not comatose, do not take me to a hospital. That's how I feel about it.
Mic check. Mic check. I just wanted to respond to that, because I think that what you're saying is really important in terms of the vaccine. If they're saying that the only way that we can fight COVID-19. Just say what they're saying. Let's just for a second just assume what they're saying is correct. Okay, let's just assume that we need to reach what they call herd or community immunity. Let's just say that's correct. Well, to do that, they're talking 85% of the population has to be vaccinated. So that's out of 327 million people. What's interesting is that prior to interview, he said 70% of the population. They've now moved from 70% to 85%. So the questions that I have is that if 85% of the population has to get vaccinated and the Black community, just as a whole, chooses not to engage, what does that mean? Does that mean you can't work? You can't go to school? You can't go in stores? Like, I'm wondering how they're going to enforce the movement of people who've been vaccinated. And they have been talking about wearing a card or getting a bracelet and actually saying certain jobs mandate. So if your job says you have to get COVID-19, the vaccination, to send your child to school, to work in a certain field, is it going to get to the point that either you do that or you have to completely disengage? That's my concern. And that's actually a fear of mine. It's like, how are they going? They're saying now they're just going to do campaigns and get people to sign up. I'm thinking America and our very racist history, it may start off as a campaign, it may start off as a choice, but at some point, I believe, and this part here is my opinion, I believe at some point it's going to be either you get vaccinated or you can't come out. Because it's not going to work if I'm vaccinated and you're not. You need 85% of the population. Again, I'm not into conspiracy theories. They're going to have to mandate it at some point. They're starting off with voluntary, but America does not stay voluntary for very long. At some point, it becomes a mandate. You get the vaccine to send your children to school.
I'll
You
die
said
first.
you wouldn't have vaccinated.
I'll die first before I take that.
And that's something interesting. I mean, but think about that. Now, Mike Check, I just want to say that we talk about vaccinations. The way the research shows, 98% of the people in this country have vaccinated their children. 98%. So less than 2% of the children in this country are homeschooled for religious reasons, for philosophical reasons. And so I stop and I think, okay, wow. When they told me to vaccinate my sons, I did. I stepped up. I got the MMR. I got the, HPV. I'm like, well, I never even asked what was in it. I just stuck my arm out and stuck their arm out. And COVID-19 is making me think, how much stuff have I already voluntarily taken and had my children take that's making you think? I mean, it's a lot of questions that I have, and COVID-19 is now pulling those questions to the surface.
Mike check.
Mike check.
Mike check.
Sorry, I thought my mic was on, but I'm on now, right? Okay, good. So there's absolutely no question that there's a tremendous history of racism in medical care as in all aspects of U.S. history. You were speaking, Dr. K, about Hopkins at one point, and for the first 70 years of their medical school, they would not allow a black student to come in and be trained as a doctor in that institution. As one little example. Another example is lupus. Lupus touches home because we have a family member with that, and black women are more likely to get lupus, much more likely, and because of that, they've invested very little research money in trying to figure out how to treat lupus effectively. And only one medicine was ever developed for that illness, whereas other illnesses have had many medicines developed. On the other hand, we've been in a bad situation if we turn our backs on all of medical science. In my case, for example, I had appendicitis when I was 9 years old, and if it weren't for modern medicine and surgery, I wouldn't be here any longer. I'd have been gone. And when it comes to some illnesses like smallpox, vaccinations were able to eradicate that basically from the whole human population in the whole world. So I understand all these doubts, and they did put it out very quickly, and there's probably a lot of racist thinking in the minds of many of the scientists that worked on the project. But my general inclination is that COVID is such a horrendous disease that's taking so many people that when it comes to taking a vaccine, I figure I'll take it. But Dr. K, I want to ask you a question. The United States is probably the worst in the world of all the countries right now in terms of COVID infections and COVID deaths. I think we have about 5% of the world's population, but we have about 20% of the deaths. So the racism of who has underlying conditions and who has to work the kind of jobs that can't afford to stay home plays a big role, but there are other aspects of why it's so bad, why the United States is one of the worst, if not the worst, in terms of COVID. So I'm interested in your opinion on that.
Thank you. Mic check. When you talk, I want to first answer to the first thing you said about taking the vaccine, because people ask me a lot, well, with everything you've done, are you planning to take the vaccine? What Sister Tawanda said, when COVID-19, which then was called the novel coronavirus, when it was first told to me, it was actually back in December of last year. We had a South Korean exchange student who lived with us for many years. He really is a third son to me. But he called us in December and said, something is coming and you need to start getting supplies. You need to get masks, you need to get sanitizer. This was in December. And so we didn't really understand what was going on, but we began to shore up. So we were watching the international news, what was unfolding in Wuhan, China from December. And so I've been studying it every single day. I am not a medical doctor, but I've turned all my areas of research to just focusing on COVID-19. Every single article that has come out, every single study, I've read them, I've taken those because I wanted to keep bringing it on the table to my community. Even though, you know, a lot of people complain in the very beginning, you keep talking about it, I'm like, because it's coming, like we need to be ready. Let's not get caught off guard. Where I stand now with vaccine, my parents are planning to take it, my sons are planning to take it, my husband is planning to take it. Everyone can make their own decision. I am going to take the vaccine because of one simple reason. If everybody I love is taking it, I'm taking it too. Because I don't want to be sitting here. If it takes all my family out and everybody dies from the COVID-19 vaccine, I don't want to be hanging out going, I told them. They should have listened to me. Nope, I don't want to do that. I'm going down with my family. And that sounds insane, but truly, my decision is purely one based upon love. Everyone takes it, yep, my sons, my husband, I'm in line too. Let's all go down and do this thing together. That aside, I think that with this particular president, and I know the administration is changing, and I'm very grateful for that, but I think early on, if you track Donald Trump, and they just came out and said that Donald Trump's lie, the lie around COVID-19 is going down as the biggest lie of this year. Because when Donald Trump said back in February and again in March that this is something that's going to disappear, he said it wasn't real, there was no cause for concern. I think if you couple Donald Trump's response, lack of response, but even the lack of response was a response itself, right? You couple that with the conflicting information that was coming out, because early on, Dr. Fauci and Dr. Adams told us not to wear masks. Early on, they said, don't worry about it. Don't rush. Leave the mask to the professionals, which we were preaching contradictory information on our show because we kept saying, get your mask. There was so much contradictory information coupled with the president's response that by the time it became a serious issue, I think it was too late for the 74 million people that are Trump supporters. If Donald Trump had gotten on board early and had begun to shut things down and normalize masks and shutting things down and social distancing, I think that would have shifted where we are. I do think a number of people would have died because we tend to have things amplified in this country. I don't think we'd be at 16 million plus infected back into another wave now. I think when you add that to what was happening too around the struggle for Black lives, when George Floyd, when that horrible murder took place, and we had all been in the house and we all had to watch it. I think everyone here knows with West Wednesdays, just the impact of watching Black bodies being abused and killed on film and watching that over again, and people came out and protested. That all of these things were happening at the same time, and it's really fractured the country. The places where, of the people who supported Donald Trump, we're seeing a direct correlation because they have the highest number of infections and the highest number of deaths. And I think there's something to be said, particularly within the Black impoverished communities in the states that we're talking about around the Southern Belt.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. K, for sharing that and just being so real. And I definitely respect anybody's right, even though I don't want to take the vaccine, but you have a lot of people that want to take the vaccine, and it's just like a real hard thing, like we don't know what to do, what not to do type of thing. So I like being honest, and I'm just going to sit around and just keep watching this thing play completely out. That's what I'm doing. So I just thank you for being transparent and being honest. And like I said, I'm not trying to tell anybody, sorry, that's my doing, but I'm not trying to tell nobody not to do it. But as me, I'm just not there. So, Mike,
can I just say one last thing? Mic check, my last thing, and then I'll wrap here. I would recommend if you go on to the New York Times. I was thinking about you, Tawanda. You should call my show tomorrow. I'm gonna do you on the show, so you call. But if you go on to the New York Times, they have a whole site set up called "Where Am I in the COVID Vaccine Line?" You can actually punch yourself in, not your name. You punch in your age, you punch in your health, you punch in your job, and they'll tell you where you are. Because if you're where I am at 287 million, you got a little time to go. You'll be able to see things unfold that I'm nowhere near the front of the line. But people I love, like my parents, are at the front of the line. So watching what's happening there. But I would recommend that you do that. Thank you so much, West Wednesday, for letting me speak and for letting me share. I definitely appreciate all of you who support my work. And I look forward to just leaning in and working more with you. Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
One very interesting thing is, do you know who is at the very front of the line? Were the people who criticized the vaccine the most. Trump's own administration are all vaccinated right now. They put themselves before the doctors. They put themselves before teachers. So whatever it is they're trying to spin, they all got it. Mic check. Oh, is there a difference in how they are managing vaccination depending on what communities they are rolling it out in? Is there a way to track it closely?
Yes, they're actually, if you go on to both the CDC, which gives information that they kind of pull through, the New York Times has been doing a good job, and if you go to Ibram Kendi's work with The Atlantic and his work at Boston University, where they're tracking the numbers, every state makes decisions based upon where they want to focus putting the vaccine first. So some states like Maryland are really focusing on healthcare workers, that's phase 1, and then using phase 2 as nursing homes here. That's what we're going to do in Maryland. The debate in Maryland that Governor Hogan's not really dealing with yet is who's in phase 3. Is phase 3 going to be people over the age of 65, not in nursing homes? Is phase 3 going to be what we call our frontline workers, not the doctors and nurses, but the people who are essential to keeping our economy open? Who is in phase 3? So I think that's where the work is. That's the big debate. Who gets it after doctors, nurses? Who gets it after the nursing home? But every state can make that own decision. If you notice, some of them are making different kind of priority decisions based upon what's happening in their communities. Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
I'll throw in one more thought here. Dr. K, I agree with you that Trump played a significant role in causing the extent of the pandemic, but I think there are some systemic aspects of why the infection rate in the United States and the death rate are so high that go beyond Trump. For example, during the last Great Recession in 2008, 2009, about 25% of the public health workers were laid off all around the United States. And Obama never brought them back, and Trump never brought them back. And that made it, even if Trump wanted to do a testing program and what's it called where you send people out to find all the contact tracing, which was very effective in China and other countries, I think South Korea. Even if he wanted to do that, they didn't have the force of public health workers capable of doing that. So And the recession and the loss of all those jobs, that's a problem of capitalism, I think. Another aspect of it is some of the vital things that we were missing in protective equipment has to do with economics as well. So for example, with face masks, some years back, the manufacturers decided they're going to go make them in China because it costs them less and labor's cheaper. And there were very few companies left that produced them domestically. So I think some of the fundamental economics of capitalism also are at the root of the problem, and Trump amplified that. But I think the problems were also a little deeper than Trump.
I would add, Mike Check, I would add two other things in here. That one thing Trump could have enacted, he could have enacted what they call the Wartime Act, where you turn over businesses to actually work to produce what we needed. So think early on, if he had fashion designers turning over their business to making masks, doing those at the companies that are here, we could have been more up to date with our PPE, so that we wouldn't have that kind of impact that we had. Two, it's a new and a novel coronavirus, so there are things that we just didn't know. I had an opportunity to interview the nurse and the doctor, two Black women who were first in line to take the vaccine, and I asked Nurse Hendricks, I said, what did you learn? I mean, you've been taking care of patients from the beginning all the way to now. She said, what we learned is how much we didn't know. Things that we were doing in the beginning were actually things that worked against keeping people alive. Because we did the same things we've always done. We turned people on their back. We found out after so many people died to put them on their stomach. So there were things that they were learning along the way. And the third thing, I think that there is a general distrust of the government and of the medical profession. I went through the contact tracing class, and so I became a trained contact tracer. And so when Dr. DeRodder said people need to answer their phone, that was a big deal. Like, answer your phone. And then even with answering the phones, people weren't really sure about giving out information. Like, we have a little bit of distrust here with the medical field when someone calls saying, where have you been, who have you been around, what's been happening. So I think campaigns around that early on might have changed things. Mike Check.
Mike Check. Dr. K, I was going to add number 5, I think. And I've always love to hear your opinion about anything. Thank you for coming out tonight. We really appreciate it. I think our culture of white supremacy also had a big effect on people's, particularly in America, to take the advice of doctors. White folks, particularly us white men, didn't want anybody to tell us what to do with our bodies, where we could, restricting our movement, telling us to put a mask on, all those kind of things. So I think it was kind of perfect storm for America, really. When I heard about it, I kind of initially reacted that way. I'm like, oh, this is going to be bad. We're not going to be able to do the things that we need to do as a country. Partly too because we are so driven by what we can get from the system as well. So anything that restricts us seems to be averse to many of us white Americans. Just wondering what you thought about that.
Mike Check, I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree that the culture of white supremacy, but also it's the culture of white privilege, and it's the culture of agency that we have in this country, that I can do what I want, that that's what it means to live in a democracy, that I am completely free. You cannot make me do anything. And in so many ways, that's who we are as a nation. And I'm not saying we should lose that. I'm just saying that in the time of a global pandemic, which none of us have ever seen before. I think there are a few people that have been, amplified in the news media that lived through the 1918 flu pandemic. But if you go back and you look at that, the exact same mistakes that were made in 1918 are the exact same mistakes that are being made now. In terms of having, where you are having the pandemic and you're starting to get fatigued and you want to go out and you want to be around and you're not sure about wearing masks. Well, I didn't learn about the 1918 flu pandemic when I was in school. I think they glossed over that. And I didn't start learning about that until we hit this pandemic. And I was like, well, have we done this before? I heard about the Spanish flu, but I was not an expert and I never really studied it. And if you go back and you look at the first, second, and third wave of that pandemic, it's the same thing. The same mistakes they made then we're making now. And that's the part that baffles me. How we're making the exact same mistakes. Not just with our government, but even as individuals, the same mistakes.
I'd also like to point out that white supremacy is insidious, and that white supremacists will use anything in their toolbox to keep white people at the top. And that includes spreading misinformation about vaccines. That includes scaring people about things. So just be aware of that too. As awful as the history around black people and the medical field is, there are some good things that do come out of science, and white supremacists will do everything in their power to keep black people from taking advantage of those good things. Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check. I agree.
Mic check.
Mic check. Well, thank you so much for letting me come on and join you. I really appreciate it. We're just going to keep learning. I think we're going to have to make decisions, and each family will make their own decision with as much information as we can get. It's hard to completely trust something that feels like it was done very quickly. But as an epidemiologist said on my show last week, he said, we developed the vaccine in a weekend. That blew me away. He said, when it hit in January, we had the vaccine by Monday morning. We went in and we worked that weekend. All we've been doing now is trying to perfect it and doing small trial studies. But him saying that actually made me even more concerned. I'm like, you did it in a weekend? Like that made me very nervous. He said, well, we've been perfecting it. We've been doing trial studies. He said, but we had a vaccine ready to go within 2 days. So that is something I think is interesting. But I also know that the vaccine only builds on the research they've been doing around the coronavirus. They said they didn't start doing a new vaccine. They just took the one they've been developing for coronaviruses and they just tweaked it to fit what was happening with COVID-19. Mic check. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Dr. K, I have one more question because I know you probably got to get ready to go, and we appreciate and respect your time. Do you know some of the stuff that's inside of this vaccine? Because I done heard so many things from it being a white person's DNA to like everything. So do you know some of the stuff that's actually in the actual vaccine itself?
What's interesting, mic check. Thank you for asking that question, because I'm an infectious disease specialist, and she said on my show, and I'll send you the link, and she named every single thing that was in the vaccine. I then said to her, can you tell me like I'm 3? Because what you just said, because I'm not a scientist, I have no idea what that means. Like, what are you actually saying? The main thing that I got that she wanted me to understand, that it's not a live vaccine, which means they're not injecting you with COVID-19 so your body can build up an immune system to it. They've injected you, according to her, they've taken a portion of the COVID-19, they've actually done a particle match of it, and that's what you're being injected with to kind of jumpstart your immune system. Do understand that taking the vaccine does not mean you won't get COVID-19. Let's be very clear. It doesn't mean you can't give someone COVID-19. Taking the vaccine only stops the severity of COVID-19 entering your body, which I think is the point that I told her. I said, can you say that again? Because we're being told, you take the vaccine, boom, you'll never get COVID-19, take off your mask and live your life. No, you take the vaccine and you still have to wear a mask, you still have to wash your hands, you still have to social distance, because you can still get it and give it to someone else. It just means they want to try to stop people from dying of COVID-19, which is, I think, a part of it that we have to talk about, right? That's the part of it that is a concern, because I'm taking a 2-part vaccine that I may have to take every year, like the flu vaccine, that won't necessarily stop me from getting it or giving it to someone.
I was just listening to a podcast this morning.
Mike check.
They were talking about the flu vaccine on is a science podcast called Shortwave, and they were talking about when you get injected with the flu vaccine, they usually shoot it in your arm, right at your shoulder, and often after that happens, you'll feel achy, especially around that spot. Your whole arm will hurt sometimes. And they were explaining that that's actually a good thing, because what the vaccine does is it attacks that part of your body, your shoulder, which is a pretty strong part of your body. It's much stronger than, say, your throat or your lungs. And so what they were saying was that when the reason why they inject it there is because your body is strong enough to be able to fight that off pretty easily. There's no mucus that forms in your shoulder or anything like that, and so it is a really good spot for the vaccine to be put into. And they were explaining that, you know, yes, you still can get sick, you know, by inhaling coronavirus droplets through your lungs and stuff like that, but the vaccine will help your body fight it off a little bit better. So, you know, just co-sign on everything that you just said. Mike check.
Which Mike check, which I think is interesting. Sorry. Let's see. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, West Wednesdays?
Yeah.
We can hear you.
Okay. All right. So one of the things I think is interesting is when we're talking about the vaccine, this is what I mean about making sure people have all the information, because that's where the conflict is. It doesn't make you point where you cannot get COVID-19. It doesn't even heal you from COVID-19. It just stops the severity of the symptoms. And I think if people understand that, then it helps them to make a more informed decision. But I do have to bounce, West Wednesday. I have my next meeting starting right now at 7:30, and I've already pulled it up on Zoom, so I have to bounce over to that. But thank you so much for inviting me. I appreciate you. Anytime.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Dr. K.
Very nice to have you with us.
Anytime. Thank you. Anytime.
Mike check.
1, 2.
Mike check.
Mike check.
So there, guys, you have it. We had our queen, Dr. K, laying it down, being honest, being transparent, and every reason why I really thought it was so important to do this show tonight, because you know we all talk about various issues, but last West Wednesday, I had a doctor's appointment with my son, and I posted something saying, hey, after this, I'm on my way straight home, busy day type of thing. But long story short, I get a call like on Monday, and it's from his doctor's office, and I'm thinking, they said he was healthy, everything was fine. They started blowing my phone up to the point I could not, they like literally calling me, and when I say they're real clean, doctor, like they're taking our temperature, I see them spraying and wiping stuff down. It's like, what the world are they calling for? Come to find out, somebody in their office had COVID-19. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. So I'm like, it's everywhere you go. Like, it's just like everywhere. Like, you can't go to the doctor's office and not take a chance. It's literally everywhere. So I just wanted to share that. That's why I thought it was really important. Why I say this. Yeah. So Mike check.
Mike check.
1, 2. I don't know if okay. I see the little blue thing that pops up. That means that you can. Okay. All right. I was just making sure. Well, I've been sitting here. I haven't really said too much. I'm more of a conspiracy theory person. And I think that's good to bring to the conversation here just a bit, because we have to think about the facts, and then you have to apply the facts to the thought process, and then the thought process and the facts can give you informed decisions to be able to do something or to not do something. As you heard me say before, I have 6 children. So my oldest is 10 and my youngest is 9 months. Of course, they're in that age bracket to be affected. I have family that I've lost. I have a family member right now that has it. I've had friends that's been in my household around me and my children, my wife, you know what I mean, that has had it and then has came out of it and healed from it, or I don't know how you would put that in terms. But they conquered the COVID, and yet we haven't contracted it. There's no sickness. Nobody feels any different. I don't feel like I should have to stop my life or allow somebody to stop my life because of something that I believe was put in place to kill us in the first place. If we do the research like we've been doing, and not just the doctors, not just the people in the government, not just the activists, not just the people that have radio shows, but actually the entire community do and make their own informed decisions, then it'll be a little bit better as far as the fight back with the government when it comes to mandating it. So right now it's a choice. You can sign up for it or whatever. I don't know because I don't want nothing to do. But at the end of the day, we have a choice right now to okay, I'm gonna follow through with it. I'm gonna get some more information. I'm gonna try it out. I'm not gonna try it out. I don't want to do it. And then it gets to the point where they mandate it that we can't do anything. We can't send our kids to school. We can't go to stores. We can't even provide for our basic needs because of something that's being mandated. But now there's a percentage of people that are scared to take this because it could possibly kill me or make me more open and susceptible to the virus. And then some people just like, okay, well, I'm gonna take it and then it's gonna make me feel better or it's gonna help me fight it off even more. And then some of those people are still gonna die. So it comes down to what's being done or what's being said or what is the fight against the things that are not being said, if that makes sense. How are we going to get the answers that we're looking for? We're asking a lot of questions, and these questions are very valid, every single last one of them. But how do we get the answers besides just talking about it here and then have somebody that try to fight it with a fact that doesn't even make any sense, and then we're just sitting here doing whatever these people tell us that we have to do. When in the Constitution it states we the people, that means that we the people, the first three words, we have the power. So why are we not taking the power into our hands and actually making some type of moves? You know what I'm saying? Like even a march or a Black Lives Matter, a protest is just a parade without a list of demands. We are outside saying we shall overcome, but nothing's happening. We're still dying. So where do we go from there? How do we get these answers? How do we get if there's a conspiracy theory, how do you calm those theories down and not? It's a pandemic because we're panicked. Panic them. That's what's happening. So now we're scared, and because we're scared, the first thing we do is listen to what somebody that has a PhD or a bachelor's is telling us, and half the time they're giving us misinformed information. That's going to end up killing us anyway. You know what I'm saying? We talk about Black Lives Matter and the brown lives and the white lives and it's so much racism that's been going on as we've been seeing, and that boils over into the government, into decisions, into people's lives that affect our children and our next generations. Okay, but at the end of the day, this has been happening regardless. Black people kill black people. White people kill white people. You know what I'm saying? All these things, you know what I'm saying, they have to be addressed at the same time. It's redirection. I feel it's redirection. You're having us go crazy about one thing and then something else is happening. So now I'm focused on this while you're over here lying to me about this, and you regain my attention over here, and there was a whole different situation than what it was before, just to bring me back over here, and I go focus over here, and now this looks different, and then I'm trying to fight against this, but there's another power that's trying to kill me behind my back. How do we get that from happening? How do we get out of this tug of war? Because there's a Black Lives Matter, and then there's the fight on COVID. And then and now as a parent, I'm fighting with this whole Zoom thing with my kids. My child is not learning the way he needs to learn because he's not in the school environment. He's at home when he's most comfortable. Now he can't focus. That's something else that I have to put my mind on too. But then they tell me if my child don't give the vaccine, he can't go to a school setting eventually and go learn the way he needs to learn and be able to have these conversations. What do we do about killing these conspiracies? What do we do about getting these answers to the questions that we're asking besides just asking a question? A lot of people ask a question and then they sit back and they don't really do the research or do the step work to look for the answers. Or they'll get to a certain point and they'll either like the information because emotions pour into it too. You know what I'm saying? Like the lady said, purely out of love. She's going and doing the vaccine purely out of love. That's something that's within. That's something that you can't see besides through action. I can say I love you, but if I don't show you, then okay. So at the end of the day, what are we really doing to get these answers? And I keep saying it because that's what I'm saying. All of this to boil down to that one thing. How do we get the answers to kill the conspiracies? To know that the facts that they're giving us are actually facts, because that's a problem too. They can tell you it's a fact just because it comes from a doctor doesn't mean it's a fact. How do we get the information and know that they're giving us the proper information so that way we can live our lives? Because I'm scared too, but I'm not scared for me. I'm scared for my kids. You know what I'm saying? You know, and it's not because I feel like COVID's gonna kill my kids. I feel like, you know, the society and what we as a people together, black, white, brown, yellow, purple, fuchsia, whatever, you know what I'm saying, are doing to be able to fight back this virus, this system, you know, this racism, you know, because I have to think about how this is going to affect them. If I say my kids can't get the vaccine because I'm the parent and I make the decision, how is that going to affect them? If I do let them get it and my kids die, or my kids get contracted with something that they can't get rid of, or whatever the situation is, how do I live with that? Damn, I just let my kids get a vaccine and it killed my baby. Now I'm a murderer. You know what I'm saying? Like I just it's I don't know. It's, for me, I have to think about that's why I kind of go into I tap into the conspiracies and I try to get those answers and I try to figure out, okay, somebody said that for a reason and that came from 1,500 other people, so let me tap into that. Even though it can be far-fetched, it could be this, it could be that. Just to throw it out there, my thing is COVID is the start of the apocalypse. That's what I believe. That's not a fact. That's not any, you know what I'm saying? That's just, as I've been paying attention over time on this television that they tell us, I've been seeing it. It's a virus that spread. You get infected, you die, you wake up. Now your mind's dead and your body's alive. Now you have to feed. Now I feel like, okay, people are dying at an alarming rate. Are they going to wake up? I have to ask these questions because they've been showing it to me, kids, for years. So is this what you're trying to do to us? Is this how you kill us? I don't know, but that's a conspiracy. We don't have facts on that. All we know is we've been looking at television. We've been listening to music. We've been talking to people. We got doctors. We got lawyers. We got, you know, skater kids. We got, you know, it's information that can or cannot be. And we think that just because somebody got a degree that we're supposed to believe what they say to us. And I completely disagree. I completely disagree. I'm not just going to listen to what you, Jay, just because you said it and you are who you are. You got a name and you was on such and such show and you did such and such surgery. I don't give a damn. Give me something more than just your word. Because obviously the word of these people, we can't rely on. Obviously, they've been showing us that for years. Showing us that for years in our communities. We can't trust shit they say. So, excuse me if I'm not supposed to cut. But, you know what I'm saying? But we can't trust nothing they say. So, when it comes to a virus that's killing hundreds of thousands of people, can we really believe what they're saying to us? Are we really going to take action to do the things that they're telling us to do? Or should we take our own action? But if we take our own action, then we these rebels and we going against the order, and then what do? They end up killing us anyway. If it's not from a virus, it's from police brutality. It's from street violence. It's from, you know what I'm saying, giving us the tools in our community to kill ourselves. It's been going on for years, and now they doing it with a virus, and we letting them do it. That's my problem.
Thank you, brother.
Mic check.
And can you tell us your name, please?
My name is Deontay Jones, commonly known as Taz Jones. Better for this, my mic.
Right. Thank you. Alrighty, so this has been, and I love the point you brought, brother. This has all been good stuff, and I think we're gonna need like part 2 to this show, or maybe part 3 and 4, because it looks really good. And unfortunately, we won't have enough time within this whole hour like to cover it, but that was really good from your perspective, brother. I really appreciate it. Thank you. And so before we go on, Ben, are there any comments or questions?
No, not at this time.
Alrighty. Do any of the West Coalition members have any comments or questions before we go on?
I'm good.
Not at this time.
Alright. Okay, so that's good. So I want to kind of, because I know our brother, so he also, like you said, is Mick Cole's son, and last week she shared a powerful song that he had, he made the wrap up, and it was really powerful. And to me, I said he reminded me of Tupac Shakur, and that's like an honor because I look up to nobody like compared to Tupac Shakur. So, but he's amazing. He has a piece about something about these days that I wanted him to be able to share with us before we wrap up. So I'll do that before we go to the last video. But Brother Brian, do you have that said unfortunate homicide list in our city?
I don't think Brian's here with us tonight.
Oh, Brian's not? Oh, that's interesting. Did he share the list with anybody?
Not that I know of. I'll check.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm sorry, guys. Normally Brian's, unfortunately, and he reads off all the homicides that are happening in our city, which I don't take no joy in him read, but it's just to show respect for any of the victims and all the victims of homicides, including police brutality or community violence. So, also, Uncle Bill, do you have that sad list that you normally read off of police brutality victims?
I'm on the website. It's called Killed by Police, and they generally are pretty up to date about all the people around the country whose lives have been stolen by police. However, it's several weeks now that they haven't updated the list. The last person is Nicholas Chavez in Texas on April. Excuse me. Wait a minute. Am I in the wrong spot? Oh, sorry. It moved on me. No, it was 3 people on November the 22nd, and we read those names and upheld their names at an earlier West Wednesday, and I'm going to try and get in touch with them and find out why they haven't updated this lately. So, no, unfortunately, we can't honor the people whose lives have been lost recently. As everyone who listens regularly to West Wednesday knows, police brutality is pervasive, and on the average, they've been taking about 1,100 lives each year, all through the Obama years and the Trump years, and that equals about 3 people a day, most of whom we never hear about. But I'll reach out to them and see if they can update that list so we have it for next week.
Okay, thank you. I honestly, in my opinion, just my opinion, doesn't mean anything, but I honestly feel like once you start like sharing all of those names and stuff like that, I feel like that was a real long list and it was horrible, and I feel like it's still happening, but they want to kind of knock it down and just not let us know the truth, and sort of just keep getting backed up. But it's just sad because literally, guys, unfortunately, within 1 week, it's almost guaranteed that there are at least 10 people killed by the police in 1 week, guys. 7 days, and that's the bare minimum. But Uncle Bill had literally 1 week he bragged for like, I think it was for like a Tuesday, but it was like 40 or more victims, and that's horrible. Now, ever since he read that real long list that I thought was endless, and it wasn't going to stop, now the site was just paused. Like, I guess they're probably trying to keep those numbers going. Unfortunately, not unfortunately, but we're ready to close out this year, so I think that's why they're playing this game. I mean, that's just my opinion. But anyway, before we wrap up, I just want to give a special shout out to everybody in my family. Just all of you guys are family. We are family. I want to thank you guys for just doing everything, just taking your time week after week, because I know how hard this is just for me and my personal family dealing with this and just, paying our dues in society, working every day, just reliving, this horrible nightmare. We live in the fact that we have Anthony Anderson, daughter-in-law here. He was murdered right before my brother. For her to actually lose her daughter to community violence, like literally within 2 weeks later, after here it is, your father-in-law is murdered by police, and then you turn around and you lose your 16-year-old baby girl. Like, that is horrible. Well, I don't know if it's a baby girl, because I learned that my queen has so many beautiful children, but to lose one of her daughters to a homicide, and like she said, it sounded like the police actually set her daughter up, because you don't go question anybody's baby about a homicide without especially a minor, without their parents being around. That is just cruel. So it's just so much we're suffering from. But literally, as far as my family, keep my family and friends, because yesterday was a real hard day for us because my Uncle Clifton Anderson, we call him Dynamite. And like I love all my uncles and aunties are very special in their own unique way. But my Uncle Dynamite is the reason why I wanted to become a teacher and work with kids, because I remember, you know, him being a real fun uncle. Like I got different types of uncles. Like my Uncle Anthony, he's always been a serious one, and after he gave you a spanking that you deserve, he'll give you a prayer and scripture. Like, you know, the Lord, you know, he'll bring you back. So it was always for your best good, you know. So he's always been the one to pray our family through things and bless his heart. Then I have all my aunties. Then I got another uncle named Ernest, who's real unique in his way. But my Uncle Clifton Anderson was real unique because he was a real fun uncle. He would actually get us together, put us in the back of his pickup truck, take us on a long ride, and just have fun and just play like little tricks and games. And he was just real serious about us learning and getting our education. And every time report card day would come around, you better believe he would come with his wallet ready to reward you or chastise you if you didn't get a good grade. So yesterday was his birthday, and my heart goes out, first of all, to, like I said, my family, his children, my cousin Kiana, who took immaculate care of him. Like, they were best buddies. Like, he was like something to my aunties that are missing their brother. Like, so I just wanted to share that with you, and thank you guys for sending my you know, birthday wishes, or heavenly birthday wishes to my Uncle Clifton Anderson, and also to my best friend Kira, her birthday and my uncle's birthday, you know, on the same day, unfortunately. So it's like bittersweet. I'm happy because she's here to celebrate her birthday, but then I'm real sad and overwhelmed with it. So it's like I'm up and down, emotional. It's just really sad. It's really hard, but like I said, I just want to thank y'all in a personal way. Just like I said, we all go through trials and tribulations in our own personal space that we don't even talk about. Like somebody literally in our West Lansing family could be actually once right now that they don't want to talk about, or financial crisis or anything, a sickness that they don't want to just like, okay, I don't want to tell nobody. But I just want to let you guys know if there's anything that I can do to help, please feel free to reach out to me. And I just want to thank each and every one. Like, I'm starting to look like you guys are spoiling me. Like, I look forward, like, every year, Hillary, Thanksgiving, she always give me this pecan pie that's amazing. Then she just gave me this bark candy. Like, oh my goodness, it was amazing. And she did her Zoom Hanukkah party, and it was real beautiful. And I seen like a bunch of people from West Lansing, and just like so many people, you know, we love to be in the Halifax house, sharing a moment, hearing her son read the stories and, you know, play fun games. We were actually, they pulled it off, guys, online. It was amazing. And I was actually mad that I had to hop off because we were having movie night. My kids were like, okay, Mom, we got it. The movie, we're ready to watch the movie. So I just want to thank you guys for all the stuff that you do. It's priceless, and it's something that will go on my memory bank forever. And I just love you guys. I'm about to get emotional right now. I don't want to start crying. But nevertheless, can our brother share his piece? Are you ready, brother, to share your piece, brother? Now? Mike check.
Yes.
Mike
Yes.
check.
1, 2. I am. I just figured that I do it a cappella, so that way you can really. Oh, do I have the floor? You want me to kick it? Okay. So I said, there's coming a day that'll be much better than that. No more hurts, no more work but a sweat of your brow. No more drunk drivers driving all out of control. No more flats being stuck on the side of the road. Believe me, no more turning on the TV, hearing kids say, for the extra coffee, you can beat me. In fact, no more Amdale, no jail, no blizzards, no twisters, no hail. It'll be in the rain, in the plains, being hijacked and flown into window panes. It'll be nice just to measure the word. It'll be righteous. No more Middle East crisis. No more drugs. Plus, no more thugs and pimps. No more beatdowns. No more getting mugged for Timbs. No need for raps. No need for wheelchairs. No need for weaves, because you feel you ramble. I take it off, baby. Ever since the Lord saved me, I've been waiting for the day we can say it's all gravy. It's all crazy. Trying to see life when it's all hazy. And now right when I'm all lazy. Feel me? Too much pain, it all heals me. And that's because I can feel the effects of the four daily. Pain in my chest is strong, but let's get torn. Come, Lord, bring on your eschaton. Hitting the search, start your new earth. Flex your true worth. Honor your son, let him come, perfect a new birth. And we ain't got to prove that God is cruel. Just know when God is through, no more godless rules. So I'm anxious to praise. I'm anxious to days of feeling amazed at how I can see my pain was a phase. Still to be eclipsed at the sun's return. When we get what he gives and not what we earn. See, like.
Yes. That was amazing, my brother. Wow.
Thank you.
Amazing. And make sure when you get a chance, send Nicole your profile picture or whatever picture that you really like, because I got Dr. K's picture and I'll send it to Ben. But I wanted to mention that Mickey, he does this phenomenal thing. Like, Ben is the man I said before, and behind the movement, he puts all this together, and he has us on right now YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, all that. But what Mickey does that's really great as well is he'll make short clips of each one of the speakers, and he's now like stepping the game. I guess he's upgraded, but he's actually gonna put you guys picture first and then let your speech follow. So I definitely want a nice picture that you appreciate, you know, of yourself, and I'll definitely, when the videos become available, I'll make sure I send it to you. I'll make sure you get it.
Awesome.
All we do is ask that you share it. That's all we do is just ask
Right.
Yeah.
I just appreciate being here, to be even able to speak on these topics and be heard, in like, I don't care if it's 2 people or 200,000 that's listening. At the end of the day, it's each one reach one. And the only way that we can get the answers we're looking for is if we actually take the steps together, all of us. You know what I'm saying? You know, even to my wife is in and out of the room, and she's hearing the conversation, and we talk about these things every day. So, you know, even the next person that we can, you know, tell or inform. I got a lot of information from Dr. K that I definitely need her information as well. I need everybody's information to be able to, you know, stay up on these topics. But I learned something tonight. That's why I stayed quiet, because I was in the process of learning. You know, and I don't speak on things too quickly that I may not have facts on. So, you know, to hear the knowledge that was given, it helped me to be able to speak. And you know, when it came to my opinions and the things that I'm hearing and the information I have, and you know, and then I can go and cross-reference that, you know, and make sure that the things that she's saying is being recorded as well. And it's a learning experience for everyone, especially in the community, to be able to keep ourselves and our families safe, you know, and our friends safe.
Alrighty, well, thank you, my brother. So, do anybody want to share before we wrap up? Anything?
Yes, 2 things. One was that Hillary asked a question earlier that she'd written on Facebook, and Dr. K answered. And then Hillary wrote, "Thank you, Dr. K." And we didn't mention that. So I don't know if Dr. K is watching now. I think she had another meeting. But I just want to thank you to get out there. And Taz, it was a pleasure to have you on the program tonight. And I just want to say, when you speak, I hear your mother's voice. You have a lot of similarity in the way you present yourselves. It's a pleasure to hear you.
I think it's over everything, and I have to say this, over everything. Me and my mother have been through a lot, and being on this earth for 30 years. You know, I never take away from what's going on here, what we're doing, and what the goal and what the vision is. You know, because it's a collective and it's beautiful. But to be able to sit here next to my mother and be able to speak on the things that are important to her is just beyond anything that I can even think. It resonates in my soul, because this is my mother. This is the woman that God chose to give life to me, and entrusted with my life to bring me up and give me the tools that I need to become the man I am today. And even at 10 years, with me not being able to put my arms around her, just this connection that we have in this damn time, to sit here and I'm watching myself sitting on the screen next to her, you know, and we're coming on one accord, and we've gotten to heated discussions about this, because one of our family members has contracted the virus, and we got into a full-on argument. We didn't even speak for 3 days, you know what I'm saying, because of the topics that we're speaking on right now. And to be able to be here with her is just anything that I can imagine, like. And I'm just grateful to be here. I'm thankful, and I love you, Mom.
I love you too, my son. And I just wanted to say that, you know, through Tawanda, she actually gave my family a voice to be able to be heard, you know, to be able to keep my father-in-law and my daughter's name alive. Because at one point in time, I never thought nobody was ever going to hear about my daughter again. I thought after her funeral, it was just over with. That was the end of everything. And for my husband to introduce me to Tawanda, and for her to not only open her heart, but her mind and her spirit to allow me to come in and welcome me with open arms and allow me to talk about my family and keep their names alive. I just take my hat off to you, Queen. You will always be my sister. You will always be my queen, and I will always love you.
And I love you back. I love you even more, and I just thank you. And as I can see, talent runs completely through your genes. Like, you should have had me, my queen. Maybe I could sing for something. At least I can rap. I can rap. Now we're gonna be there. Sing like y'all can start a whole band. Like you could hit the notes and have him rap. Like yes, let's do it. But,
we got something coming. We got something coming definitely. So something on the way.
I want to jump on the hook. But anyway, I love you guys, and I just want to say thank you so much. And we will definitely do this again next week. We do it every week, and next week will be the week of Christmas. So, and this, like I said, was an emotional week for my family. It's been really hard because, like, Monday had struck, like, years ago when they was playing games, when they released that partial autopsy foolishness, and we went through hell. But as you seen from day one, we flew out here. We've been out there nonstop. You can't pay us to walk away, and guess what? We're gonna still be out here nonstop until my coffee drop. I'm never gonna stop fighting for all the victims of police brutality, murder. I'm never gonna stop fighting, and even for victims of police brutality as well as street violence. Like, a victim is a victim, but we need to know the difference. Let's be clear. When an officer murders somebody, we know who he or she is, and nothing never happens. But if we find out who killed someone in our community, you will never see them again. You will never see them again. That's the difference. Like, they are above the law, and that's cool. That is cool. So that's the difference. You just need to know the difference in all this. So at the end of the day, just remember, live to love to live. I love you all. I don't know if it was just my Facebook page, but it said something went wrong. I don't know if it's on Ben in. I don't know if you're getting the same message. But anyway, thank you, and thank you. Or closing remarks. Check.
Mic check.
And Mr. West begging for his life, and Mr. Salam and Mr. West begging for his life, and Mr. Salam begging for his child to be excluded and comforted from what was taking place. Not for himself, but for his 3-year-old child.
Case number 4, Adina Britt and family, September 10th, 2015.
My name is Adina Britt, and I wanted to submit a 30-second testimonial that Jorge Omar Bernardez Ruiz is one of the 11 terrorists that came into my house performing a home invasion in September 2015, terrorizing my entire family and even holding my 12-year-old son at gunpoint. He needs to be stopped.
Case number 5, unidentified arrestee, assaulted in 2016.
I suggest you back the fuck up.
Again, this video did not surface until the summer of 2020. Case 6, Thomas McCullough, May 2016 and February 2017.
I heard my front door coming off the hinges like it exploded.
Thomas McCullough says it happened twice. In May 2016 and February 2017, Baltimore City Police burst through his green front door and raided his Pimlico home.
They said, police. They come up, shotguns, guns.
He says officers ransacked the place, looking for drugs, money, and weapons. He took pictures of the damage he says they left behind.
Tell us where the drugs are, the scales, the guns, and the large amounts of money.
Nothing was found. Now he's suing police, claiming officers, including a former member of the Gun Trace Task Force, frightened him, his wife, and father-in-law when the officers conducted what his suit calls an illegal search of his home. The owner of the house tells 11 News after the second raid, he had to replace the front door. McCullough and his attorney say they want Baltimore police held accountable.
There is a colossal breach of trust.
And McCullough tells us following both raids, no one was arrested or charged.
This all begs the question, when will Baltimore City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby see the prosecution of Bernardez Ruiz as warranted?
They were the stopping officers in these so-called jump-out cars, unmarked and so forth, that stopped both the West vehicle and the Salam vehicle without probable cause. And these officers are the ones that also were joined by others, but they are the ones who initiated the stops, pulled both men out of the vehicles, and commenced the vicious activity that was thrust upon them.
And the officer Ruiz that started this attack is still working and working with promotions. He is now sergeant. But the fact that this repeat violent offender had a history leading up to my brother. There was Darrell Harris, there was James Green, Joseph Green, Abdul Salam, and my sister Dina and her family. No one family deserves to be brutally murdered or brutalized by this repeat violent offender Ruiz. It is time we take action. The time is now.
Baltimore police officer Jorge Bernardez Ruiz is a repeat violent offender. Based on these accounts, in accordance with the law, we, the West Coalition, call for him to be fired, prosecuted, and incarcerated.
We're more than hashtags and body bags. We're more than being 6 feet in the dirt and pictures and buttons on t-shirts. Our lives matter.
For the safety of our city, the prevention of further harm, and the justice for these families, we see no other option.
And again, I'll say, the time is now.